Hey guys, this is Great Palzilla, and today we're going to talk about this ship right here. This is the HMS Furious. The Furious is a very, very famous aircraft carrier that was served in World War II. It was actually built as a battle cruiser in World War I. It had an 18-inch gun forward and an 18-inch gun in the back. And when it was first converted to an aircraft carrier, this part of the ship was battle cruiser and this part was aircraft carrier. So they had the forward deck and then they had the stern, which had the gun on the backside of it. Okay? And then later on, it underwent a full refit and full conversion where they put the deck all the way across. And that's what it is. It's a battle cruiser that was converted to an aircraft carrier. So, what do we have in the game? Well, we've got a ship that is very, very good. It is not slow. No, unlike the Hermes, this one actually moves, and it could do 31 knots. It's not stealthy. None of them really are. Its anti-aircraft defense is actually decent at 46. It says it's got these 102 millimeter guns, but I'm looking at it. These are mountings for 5.5 inch guns. So if they replace those with 102s, okay. But, you know, you shouldn't be getting in a gunfight anyway. Okay, this is a tough little ship. It's not going to fall right away if it gets cut out in the open. It can take some beating. And again, obviously you don't want to sit there and get beat on. Okay? So how do I have this captain set up? The same way I would set up any other captain. And that is to go straight down the attack line, then pick up survivability expert. I've gone over this 1,000 times. I'll go over it 1,000 more if I have to. Improved engines, and then you can pick the skills you want to put it into. These planes have a good fire damage chance, as you'll see. If you add that to it, it just makes it even better. So, like I said, your mileage may vary, and what you want to do is what you want to do. But there are some things on this ship that just don't make any sense in your captain skills, and you'll be able to figure those out. You're not guys. You're not ignorant like that. You can figure that out pretty darn quick and in a hurry. Okay. All right. So here we have the Furious. Well, what she got on her? Well, we've got the Sea Hurricane. All right. Now the Sea Hurricane was nothing more than a Hawker Hurricane that was adapted for use on carriers. Okay. Before this, they tried to use the Skua as a fighter in the early part of World War II, and it was an abysmal failure. So what they went to was something called the Ferry Fulmar. Now the Fulmar was a good carrier fighter for what it did. Did it match up with the Messerschmitt 109? Nope, not at all. But it wasn't designed for that. The Ferry Fulmar was designed to take on those Focke-Wulf 200 Condors, the Junkers 88s, the Heinkel 111s that the Luftwaffe was sending out after the convoys, mostly going to Malta, which is where the bulk of this ship's service came in, was running aircraft to Malta, keeping Malta alive. Okay? The Barracuda, the Ferry Barracuda, is a variant of the Ferry Battle, which made its debut in the Battle of France in 1940 and was promptly shot out of the sky and destroyed. It was a freaking disaster. Idea-wise, I guess it made sense at the time, but the Luftwaffe just ate that thing for breakfast. It was a death trap. So what they did was they had all these production ferry battles, and they said, well, what are we going to do with these things? So they changed the configuration of the wing. The ferry battle actually had a pretty good load capacity, and they said, well, we could make it ubiquitous aircraft. It can carry bombs or torpedoes or rockets or anything else we want it to carry. It's pretty big. We'll just make it a high wing load, and we'll do it that way. And that's what they did. And they put, of course, better engines in it and whatnot, and they upgraded it. So that's the Barracuda Mark II. This went through several marks. And later on, as the United States entered the war, the British found out that, hey, you know what? The American Avenger and Helldiver, those are pretty good. Maybe we should go with those. But in keeping with the British theme in the game, they're going to keep these on here, even though actually at this stage of the war, many British squadrons were equipped with the Wildcat, and many British squadrons were starting to be equipped with the Avenger and the Helldiver. Okay? As far as upgrades go, I have put Air Groups Mod 1. Yeah, don't get me started. Damage Control System 1. Again, if you prefer the aircraft engines, by all means, it's yours. You only have a choice of attack aircraft and torpedo bombers, and since the attack aircraft, yeah, they're okay. The torpedo bombers are where you're hoping to get your floods and whatnot. That's why I put it into the torpedo bombs, to give me a longer approach to that target, to outside of anti-aircraft range. What I've done here is, instead of going with torpedo bombs, I've gone with dive bombers. And the reason I do that is because on British carriers, the bread and butter, the meat and potatoes, the pièce de résistance is your dive bombers. And they're not dive bombers, they're just bombers. Okay? And they have to be in that approach for a very long time. So anything you can do to add to the health of your aircraft in general, and your dive bombers on the British carriers specifically, is going to help you. Okay? And I think you'll see some of that in the game that I'm going to show. As far as what the British planes come with, let's take a look at the torpedoes. 1.9 kilometer range, not very good. 40 kilometer speed, that's with the captain skill. That's okay. The bombs, they already have on almost 30% chance of starting a fire. 6 bombs drop per plane. You only get one plane at a time, and each bomb has a capacity of doing 4,700 damage. I've never done max damage like that, but if you hit and you get lucky, you get lucky. The idea is to start fires. Yep, 32 millimeters of armor pen. That's going to get through some of your deck plating on some of your higher level ships, but not a lot of them. The rockets, 5% chance of starting fire. I think I've started one fire with the darn things. You fire 6 per plane. Your planes come down in VIX of 3. Okay. 1,500 damage per rocket. Theoretically, you could do a lot of damage. I don't. Part of that's my lag, and the other part is it's weedy. I mean, it's nice. It looks good, and it's annoying. Scares the heck out of destroyers for whatever reason, even though you couldn't hit the broadside of a freaking barn snapshotting with these things. But, maybe you're better. Maybe your ping is 0. I don't know. Mine isn't. So, but, they've made it so that it's very, very difficult to engage destroyers with rocket planes, which is what they were designed for to begin with. Actually, some of you may not know this. The British were pioneers in the use of aircraft against submarines. They actually developed those rockets on the planes for use against U-boats. A 3-inch rocket, which is 75 millimeter, going against the hull, the pressure hull of a U-boat that's diving, that U-boat won't be able to dive because that armor-piercing rocket will go right through that pressure hull and they won't be able to dive. So right there, you've defeated the U-boat with one salvo of rockets against its pressure hull. Okay? And in the conning tower, there's 2 or 3 hatches in that conning tower that can be jammed open, busted with these armor-piercing rockets, the shape-charged rockets. So the British were pioneers at that. On the Barracudas, you're going to see little antenna sticking up on the outside of them. The British were pioneers in centimetric radar. They used the 10 millimeter radar or 10 centimeter radar to detect the snorkel of a U-boat on the surface and the U-boats in the Bay of Biscay. And it all culminated in 1942, I believe it was, in the Battle of ONS-5. If you have a chance to look it up, look it up. It's a famous battle in that month. They call it Black May. The Germans called it Black May. Schwarz Mai is what they called it. They lost 41 U-boats, and the Battle of the Atlantic was basically over at that point. And it was because of the British that happened. They used HFDF, radio direction finding. They used radar. They used aircraft, and a combination of mathematics to defeat the U-boat. It was a big deal. So look it up if you get a chance. The Battle of ONS 5. It's called Black May. It's an excellent book, and there are many, many articles written about the convoy battles that go across the Atlantic during World War II as Germany tried to shut down British commerce and trade. So, what we're going to do here, while I stop with the history lesson, you're probably like, shut up already, Zilla. I'm going to take this into battle. It's a random battle. And we're going to tool around with it and see what we do. Okay? And I'll comment on it then. And in the meantime, stay tuned. Okay, got into a random battle, and there's a Furious on the other side. And I'm looking at the anti-aircraft, and the one that stands out is that Queen Elizabeth. That thing is evil. Alright? The rest of these, you got some. Some carry fighters. The Aoba, I believe, carries a fighter. The Königsberg, maybe. I think that carries a fighter as well. But I'm looking for threats. That's what I'm looking for. What's going to get to my planes? So first thing I do is pull up the map, and I start to dive behind this island. Then I think better of it. Epicenter, joy, one of our favorite maps. You know, just as side comment, it's amazing to me as many times as people have complained about this particular iteration and its implementation into the game, Wargaming just will refuse to remove this darn thing from the rotation, even though everybody I have talked to absolutely abhors this map. So much so that, as a matter of fact, on the PTR, guess what? One of the missions you have to do has to do with this map and the space battle. I know there's some people that hate space battles, but that's coming, and yeah, this is part of it. So, yeah, I guess we're stuck with Epicenter forever. So I send my Hurricanes out. As you can see, they're looking good. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop fighters to protect this little destroyer, because I see his rocket planes are floating around here, and they're looking for trouble. And I want my destroyer to feel comfortable. So, because if that carrier's got half a brain, he's not going to go anywhere near those fighters. He knows better. So I'm going to drop him there just to protect my destroyer from getting hit. And I'm just scouting around. And what I'm looking for, because they're all kind of bunched together, and what I'm looking for is the guy that's kind of broken away. Maybe somebody off by themselves. But then I noticed two cruisers, which, well, I know they have weak anti-aircraft for this tier. So, and there's the fighters that were launched by that one ship. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some cheap shots with the rockets here, just to get them out of the rotation for one thing. And the other thing is to scout a little bit more. I'm going to fire, and my lag makes them overshoot. That's my lag. That's not Wargaming, that's me. So I have to adjust for that. And what's really frustrating for me is that every time I play, the lag's a little bit different. So the distance that's going to be off is going to be a little bit different every single time I play, and sometimes every single run I make during a match. So I'm going to launch these again, and this time, wouldn't you know it, I hit. So I'm going to bring it back around. Now, again, with the British planes, you would think different, but they're not that fast. They do 100-something knots, which is, you're like, wow, that's pretty good. Compare that to the Japanese or the American planes at this tier, and you're going to see that the British planes are not that fast. This run was a wash. It was a bad angle. So I'm going to try and spread the love over to that Budiani. And I'm taking flak from the backside. And we'll drop down, throw these rockets out there. They actually hit where I aimed. Go figure. That's what I deal with my lag. My internet is so good. It's got new records for customer service, right? So, anyway, enough of that. These are the Ferry Barracudas. Now, these planes were ubiquitous. They could be used for almost everything. They had a heavy load capacity, and they were durable. They were tough planes. Were they the best in the world? No, but for what they had to do and what they did, they were more than adequate. Especially in the Mediterranean, these things were just awesome. And people overlook the British aircraft on the British aircraft carriers. They did some very innovative things. These were planes that were equipped with radar at a time when very few planes were actually equipped with radar. They were just so big. So we're going to drop down and do a torpedo run. And a classic little confrontation here, Graf Spee against the British carrier. But those are going to miss. He'd have to be a blind fool to run into those things. First of all, the spread is wide. When you drop, you've got a big gap between the two torpedoes. And secondly, they're slow. They only go 40 knots. And you can see he easily avoided those. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to try and snapshot those torpedoes. Since he's turning away, maybe they'll hit. Maybe I'll get one. I don't know. Nope. Didn't get it. So dropped a little bit too close. And they didn't arm in time. So I'll swing it back around and come at him again. And by now he's got to be thinking, well, damn, this CV won't leave me alone. So I'm coming down on the Graf Spee, and what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to hit him with torpedoes, is what I'm trying to do. And there I launched 2 of them. They look good, but they're actually going to miss ahead of them. I misjudged that. So, okay. So we missed. Big deal. What I've done, if you've noticed the rest of my fleet, I've made them turn broadside, I've made them scramble, I've made them move around. They can't focus their fire, they can't get to our ships, and all of a sudden, they're in a very bad and tenuous position over here. So here I see this destroyer, and he's boring, and he's determined to get, he knows I've got to be behind that island. He's determined to try and get to me. I'm going to drop bombs. I'm going to make him nervous. And he gets nervous, he turns broadside to a cruiser, and with predictable results. Okay, our cruiser takes him out. So there he is, he's going in. I believe our cruiser is a Furuta. I may be wrong on that, it's hard for me to see with this little bitty screen. So I'm coming in, again, with the bombers. I'm just goofing around, kind of. And I'm making these ships awfully nervous. Now, I may not be doing a tremendous amount of damage initially, but what I'm doing is I'm making them make mistakes. Never interrupt your enemies when they're making mistakes. So by making bomb runs, even if I miss, by making torpedo runs, I'm making you turn, I'm making you react, I'm doing things to disrupt you and stop you. Now, this Normandy that I'm going after is annoying. Why? Because he's smart. This guy is smart. He has turned in, knowing that I should be coming bow to stern. He has turned so that I can't. And I don't have the speed or maneuverability to turn into it. So I'm going to drop. There's the lag skip. You saw the little green circle go doop doop. It skipped off the ship. And that's my lag. I wish I didn't have it, but I do. So, turn around. We're going to try and adjust for that. And we're going to come up on his stern. Now, he's maneuverable, but he's only so maneuverable. Remember, every time a battleship or a ship turns, they lose speed. So he becomes less and less maneuverable and more vulnerable, not only to me, but to our ships. So I'm going to drop there, and they hit, of course, right exactly where my reticle was. Go figure, right? So I'm going to swing it back around. Normandy only has 21 anti-aircraft. Don't let that fool you. It can be dangerous. All it takes is some good lucky flak, RNG, and your squadrons are gone. So I'm going to drop down again. I'm going to drop there, and maybe I'll hit him over there. Yes, I do. Now you figure that shit out. Come on. I have to be an astrophysicist to figure out where these damn things are going to land. So I take up, torpedo bombers again. And I'm still going after that Normandy because he's determined. He knows I'm behind the island. They're determined to come after me. Okay? But he ain't going to make it. He's got too much going against him. Look at all those torps that our cruisers and destroyers have launched. There's no way. He's going to take a hit. And I start to move out of the way. No sense in giving him an easy target, right? And again, this is a smart player. This is not a dumb player. So I'm going to swing. I'm going to cut real left real fast. I'm going to snapshot those torpedoes into his side because he's turning, and boom, boom, there you go. And I got a flood as well. But he puts that out. I'm going to swing back around. But now he's bled too much speed in that turn. He is vulnerable to everybody that's shooting at him. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to drop these torps again in front of him. I don't give him quite enough lead. The Normandy is a lot faster than I thought. I believe that ship does 28, 31 knots, somewhere around there. And I'm speeding out of there. I'm going to swing it back around. And you can see the torps went behind him, so I underestimated his speed. But he turned directly into the torps that were launched by our cruiser. Our destroyer. So, yeah, by making him turn, and I didn't predict this. This is no genius move. I made him turn into the torps that were coming his way. So, I launched these torps. They're looking good. Ba-boom. Got him. All right. Now, is he sinking? No. Is he sunk? No. Is he extraordinarily vulnerable and slow right now? Yep. So, you know, if you can't do it one way, there's more than one way to skin a cat, right? If you can't do this, do that. So he is bait, basically. He is easy kill for our Bayern over here. He tried, and he takes a parting shot at me. As he was sinking. So his last shot was at me. And it's a smart player. So kudos to that Normandy player. You did a good job. But there's only so much you can do. And I know that CV player was irritating the crap out of you. So what I'm doing, I'm moving my carrier out of harm's way because I've taken a hit from the Aoba. The Aoba's got more to worry about than me, but for whatever reason, and I don't know if you're one of these players, but don't do this. You see a carrier, and you start shooting at it and ignore all the other ships that are shooting at you. You're not going to last very long, right? You know, you ought to be taking care of the threat that's against you. I'm not really a threat to this Aoba at this moment. But what I'm doing again, dropping torpedoes, make him turn, make him lose speed, make him react. That sort of thing. Turn him back around. Okay? Again, he's out of position now. He's turned to avoid the torps. He's got to turn again. I mean, you're not going to sit there and take torpedoes. Nobody is. Right? So, drop it down. Launch the torps. They're probably not going to hit. I don't expect them to. My objective is to discombobulate that guy. If I can hit him out, great. I'll take it. But in the meantime, I'll take it just as well if he is all out of sorts. All out of position, out of discombobulated.
Taking fire.
And right now, he has realized that, you know what? Probably ain't worth shooting at that carrier anymore. Because he's got far more things shooting at him. Look at that. So, drop down some bombs. Again, trying to make him move, trying to make him upset. And there we go. Got a hit. Incapacitation. We'll come back around. Make him nervous. He's getting eaten alive by our ships. And to be fair, he's the only one on his team who's actually fighting.
Taking fire. Taking fire.
You know? British bombers, you want to go bow to stern, stern to bow. You don't want to go broadside unless you have a bad angle and you really don't have much of a choice. So, coming in on that Bodioni, again, I'm going to try and share the love with him. Now, what this guy has done, unfortunately for him, is he has gotten stuck on an island. And then our team quickly realizes this. So what I do is I bring my carrier down. I might as well get some of that cap points, right? Get some more points, more credits.
Fire.
So I'm coming in on the Bodioni. Bodioni said doesn't have bad anti-aircraft, but he's got a lot more to worry about. Primarily the fact that he is absolutely stuck on that island. I guess there's an invisible rock there. And I drop. This is a darn near about as perfect a drop as you're going to get. And wouldn't you know, only one bomb hits him.
Returning to ship.
So I go up again with bombers.
Taking fire.
And this is just too good to be true. As far as a carrier player, you dream of this. Where the ship's stuck on an island, it can't maneuver out of the way, and it's facing bow onto you. I mean, to an aircraft carrier, that is that is a filet mignon on a plate. You know, I mean, that's just perfect. So we're going in again, and we're going to see how much RNG we can handle. In the meantime, the rest of my team has realized he's stuck on an island, and they take him out very quickly. The two battleships that we have take him out very, very quickly. So the only thing left is his aircraft carrier, and we have got a Farragut down there harassing the crap out of him. So I am going to go down there. Now this is where you guys take lessons, because that Farragut's going to learn this carrier is not to be trifled with. This was a battle cruiser, remember that. Okay? It is armed like a battle cruiser. And carriers are not squishy. They're tough customers. They're hard to bring down quickly. They can take a lot of punishment. This Farragut's going to find that out the hard way. And for whatever reason, unfortunately, he gets caught by these torpedo bombers and he gets sunk. But bad news for my counterpart in that Furious. He's got no health, and he's got a flight of 4 very angry Barracudas coming in on top of him. So his flak is good. His fighters are up. So effectively, he has anti-aircraft over 100 right now. I'm going to move in. I'm going to drop, but I'm not going to hit, I don't think. No, lag is off. And my things get shot down. So carrier versus carrier, sniping-wise, you got to factor in what their anti-aircraft rating is, and I believe the Furious has a 46. And then on top of that, you got to factor in the fighters that he's launched and how effective they are. And you're talking about almost 100% anti-aircraft right there for at least a time. The fighters do come off cooldown. They do land. There is a short cooldown in between fighter launches. If you can catch them in between there, you've got a much better chance. But what I've done here is I brought up torpedo bombers, and I'm going to go after them that way. And of course, he's going after me. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious where my carrier is. He has spotted it. It's his only chance to get some extra damage. So he's going to go after my carrier. And he's going to lose a plane. But you know what? Yeah, I'm coming in after him. As soon as I spot him, our battleships are going to take him out. So again, I'm doing something. I'm spotting for the battleship. So the battleship's going to take him out before I get there. Okay? So I have utility at Tier 6. At Tier 8, not so much. Tier 10, not so much. But at Tier 6, you have utility. I'm spotting that thing. There's the battleship rounds. Boom, boom, boom. Game over. Okay, so how did we do? How did we do at the end of the day? Well, as soon as the battle screen comes up here. Okay. Well, that's for the Hall of Fame. You guys know about that. 17,000 damage. And what did we lose? We lost 16 planes. And with a premium account, we made 58,000. With a non-premium, we would have made 27. So Tier 6, you're still in pretty good shape. Not as good as it was before, but pretty good shape. And until next time, you guys be good to each other. HMS Furious. Have a nice day.